not times any other numbers. Never take the big number times the exponent. It's always the big number. Oh, wait, I think I just missed what I said. So you take the big number, which I'll give you the correct math word for that in a second. There. You take the big number times itself as many times as you have in the exponent, the little one. So again, we took the 2 times the 2 because we have a big number of 2 times itself twice. We take the 3 and we multiply it times itself 2 times because that's what the exponent is, a 2. So we take the 3, the big number, times itself 2 times. We take the 4 times itself 2 times. Now, if we have a different exponent, then we got to multiply it more times. Sometimes you're going to have fractions as exponent, which is going to be a totally different type of solving, which we'll get to today later. That's the end of the lesson. All right, any questions on that? So that's what an exponent means. You're taking the big number, which I'm about to give you the word for it. So here's what you need to copy down then, take some notes.
Oh, the base?
That's your big numbers, the base, correct. So you need to know that word because sometimes I'll also use that word. You need to understand base is the big number. Exponent is the small number. Oh, and always write, like I've already had to correct this like 20 times today. Some people the same had to correct it multiple times. When you write a base and an exponent and the exponent is a fraction, don't write it like this. I can't write 10 to the 2/3 power like that. What does that look like?
10 divided by 2, 3.
No.
10 divided by 2, 3.
What is that called when you learned that back in elementary school?
10
What's that
and
called?
2/3.
It's 10. It's a mixed fraction. It looks like 10 and 2/3. If you're going to write a base and an exponent that's a fraction, you have to make the fraction look like an exponent. I am recording, so knock it off. Because I am yelling over you on my recording. And I don't want to have to yell at you on the recording. So I'll just ask you to step outside, get your stuff out, and then you can come back. So make sure you are writing it like that if it's supposed to be an exponent, the fraction. Because they mean very different things. When you're done writing that, put your pencil down and I'll scroll down. You got another part to copy down. Oh, and this is always multiplication. Exponents are a shortcut to multiplication. So if we're multiplying the same number over and over and over and over again, we just say, well, instead of doing that, I'm just going to write it as an exponent. So if I'm doing that, instead of writing out all those 6's, I just say, well, I'm just multiplying 6 times itself 5 times. So exponents are a shorter version of multiplication, just like multiplication is a shorter version of addition. So if I'm adding the same number over and over and over again, that's the same thing as saying what? It's a shorter way to write 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8. Yeah, multiplication is a shorter version of that. So we would say 8 4 times 4. So similar concept, just a shorter version. But it really just means we're multiplying a lot of the same numbers. Looks like a couple people are still wrapping up. Oh, if you weren't in here or you weren't paying attention, you will have a bunch of phone time today if you stay focused, if you don't try to stay on your phone during the lesson. Last class had about 40, well, phone time they had about 30 minutes, but I gave them work to do with about 40 minutes left. As soon as they finished their work and I said, yeah, you're good, which took some of them 3 or 4 minutes, some of it took 10 minutes. But as soon as you finish it, I'll let you have your phone out once I look at it. So it's a pretty easy day. But this will be on the, you are having an exit ticket on Thursday, but it should be a pretty easy.
On Thursday.
Well, yeah, you missed 3 or 4 weeks. So yeah, you missed a bunch of stuff.
No,
I mean, I mean, that quarter's over, so there's nothing you can do about that quarter. That quarter's done. So you got 4th quarter to worry about.
This is the last quarter.
Is it? And this is a very short quarter, not in the number of weeks, but if you don't, I don't know how middle school worked. It's been a long time since I taught middle school. Our entire, almost the whole month of May, you have a bunch of tests you have to take, EOC tests. So we don't have one in here, but we have a scheduled time to take our final. So they give you a different schedule for at least, I think, 2 of the weeks of May, maybe even more, where I don't see you on Tuesdays and Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday anymore. I might only see you once in that week. So I will be done with all the material way before the end of the quarter, so that we can do a little bit of a review before the final, because some of you will have to pass the final to pass this class. For some of you, the final won't matter a whole lot, depending on what you get for both quarters. And then for some of you, it will be the difference between you maybe getting the next higher letter grade up based on whatever your 2 quarters are. We'll talk about that when we get to the end. Or if you ever want to take a picture of this, this is what tells you right here what you have to get first quarter, second quarter, and then on your final to get a certain letter grade. So you don't even know what you're getting this quarter yet. But once we get to the end and you're kind of have an idea of what you're going to get, we can go over that. All right, now write this. This is different than exponents. It's related, but it's not the same thing.
Oh my
Don't write the 25 with the 2 and the 1. Don't write the 25 and the 2 and the 1 yet. I'm going to do something with that, but we'll start it from scratch. Just copy down. That's really you could get away with probably just copying this 1 down, but then circling the 4 instead of the 3 and saying that's the root, and then just saying that radical symbol means this. It's not really going to save you a lot of time, because you still have to write this in red and this in blue. Either way. You want to spread it out a little bit more. If you think that makes it more organized for you, then do that. You're trying to save space. And you can just write the 481 with the radical symbol. Got flag football game tonight, and on Thursday we're at home. Both teams play JV and varsity.
Basketball.
What's that?
How do you play that? It's just like
You just played it.
Have you not ever seen?
No,
You
you
play-
you bad ass don't.
You played flag football. I never played flag football. Yes, you did.
Wow.
It's just football, but
Yeah, you have flags instead of being tackled. Wait. I know I had cough drops. That's because my throat already hurts, and it's only the second class on Tuesday. On really the first day. It's not even this. I mean, Tuesday is normally the second day. It's not even the second day.
Mr. Yeah, what did you do for your break?
Played a lot of golf.
You told me, no, you told me to do golf.
Mini golf.
I just said I played a lot of golf.
I could have heard I said volleyball. You said volleyball.
I said a lot of golf. So you may have heard that.
You play that volleyball, bro.
Are you a mini golf? You play mini golf?
I did used to play a lot of volleyball.
You play mini golf or real golf?
Real golf.
I used to be a cheerleader.
I play mini golf. That's the real skill.
What guy?
Me too. Nice.
Huh? When you're done, put your pencil down, so I know you're not just doing it, you're waiting on me.
Make a helicopter up in there, bro. You got Oreos?
That goldfish.
Cops
What have I been looking for?
Oh. Look like cops.
That's why we're-
You got golfies in there? Maybe for some golfies.
You're still writing, it looks like.
Call me color, bro. When you get that shirt.
Wow. Hey, what's up?
Abby? No, that's all his girlfriend. That's my girlfriend, right? Ooh, are you? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, so he on the cop job. Yep. Cops are
At least he's not talking about
cigars again.
cigar. Hey.
When you were out there, he was going.
Yeah. He played that to death. Good lord, he played that to death.
Mr. Gill, I think someone was passing.
By night,
next
off
to
your
my
house.
seat.
Oh, probably.
Cops
Who would that have been?
wrong.
Your seat?
Cops gonna make you wrong.
Second period. I don't remember who took that first period. Who else was there? Huh, I don't remember who took that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
where?
want it?
Right here.
Okay, I can figure it out.
What is it?
I don't want to read anything I shouldn't. But I am curious. I can't remember who said
No,
that.
80.
Huh?
More.
Trey Boston, man. Gage
There.
Green, bro. Gage Green, man. Gage Green,
There. I remember a whole bunch of people were around.
It's.
Are you trying to figure out who we're passing notes?
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who said where.
I just found
Drives
it
me
like right
crazy
here
when I
on the
can't remember
floor.
stuff like that.
Ryan.
I just found it like right here on the floor.
I'm gonna have to look it up because that's driving me crazy. I can't remember one person in that whole row for second period. If I could remember one, I could probably figure it out.
Like this one,
everybody's
Divin.
there, but that
Divin
one
on.
isn't.
Mario sits
Can it be?
there.
The only person you're missing is that one time.
No, I mean in second period.
Wait,
And I just saw him, but I can't remember. who
Because
sits
like,
in that
because
row.
it was like right here in this area.
Usually else if they were there, so that's that one.
yeah, no.
Everyone's in the second
Or
maybe, like-
Realize it. Whose name
Edwin
is
never
on it?
shows
Or
up.
maybe like behind
John.
me. Just to go like behind me maybe.
I can't remember a single person that sits in that row at all.
Really?
I can remember people in every row except for that row.
I can smell your cough drop from here.
Oh yeah. I don't even like these coffee drops. These are my least favorite coffee drops.
Shit.
Those are the only ones I had at one point.
Medicine over
I have to cop
The
this.
What
shit.
is it? Can you tell me the flavor of it? From the smell?
Taste the who?
Like, is it cherry?
It's that
Is that shattering?
Cherry.
yeah, I know.
Oh, it's driving me crazy. I can't remember. All right. I think everybody's done now. All right. So this one's a little tougher than exponents. So just bear with me. So first of all, this thing is called a radical. So when you hear me say a radical, I'm only talking about the symbol. It has nothing to do with any numbers anywhere. The symbol itself is a radical sign. It doesn't really tell you much other than we're basing something on multiplication. Multiplication is going to be the math behind what we try to figure out. So all it's really telling you is there's going to be some multiplication to use to try to figure out the answer. What it's saying really though is what number times itself. So this is the opposite of exponents, by the way. So when we have a number here, this is telling us the big number, the base, times itself. So we take the base and we multiply it times itself. This is the opposite. It's saying what number times itself. So meaning we're trying to find a missing number. We're trying to find what is that number, and that in this case would be the 8. So you'll see when we get to the 81 what that means in more detail. This is always called the root. So it is how many times are we multiplying that number times itself. Kind of like the exponent in a way. And then this is the answer we're trying to get to, basically. So here's an easy example. If we had a problem where we used exponents first, 3 to the 4th, we'll say. What does that mean? Or what's the answer if you know the answer? Wait, no, let's not do that one. Let's do 2. Let's start with 2. 2 to the 4th. We'll do simpler math. What's that mean? 2 what? Not 2 times 4. No, don't say that. We just went over what that means. Doesn't mean 2 times 4. Nope, doesn't mean 4 times 4. We just went over what that means. You just wrote it down.
Oh, hold on.
You take the base, the big number, times itself 4 times. That's not 2 times 4, though.
2 times 2 times 2.
It means that, which equals 16. So this is the opposite. If we were to fill this in, we would actually write the end number, the big number. What we got as the answer would be that. And then we would write the 4 there. So this problem is the same as this. They're opposites. This tells me, hold on just a second, what number times itself 4 times, I'm gonna write over here. What number, and it's got to be the same number. You're not looking for different numbers. I'm using question marks. We normally use a variable, but what number times itself 4 times equals 16? So they're opposites. You see how now the answer would be, oh, well, 2 times itself 4 times. So the answer to that would be 2, because 2 is what the question mark is. The number that times itself 4 times equals the 16. So I want you to try to figure out that one then, the 4 and the 81.
Oh, so it's basically like how it's explained. It's like
What is the answer?
What you just said, what number times itself 4 times?
Yeah, what number times itself 4, because it's the same exponent. So what number times itself 4 times equals 81? So it's not division. We don't just say 81 divided by 4, because that's the first thing people want to do is divide 81 by 4. It is not division. You may want to make a note of that if that was your first thought. There's no division involved. You have to think to yourself, what number times itself, again, in this case, it's 4 times again, because there's a 4 there. If that was a different number, then it would be, we'd use a different number of times. And then the final answer we're trying to get to is the 81. Just like here, we were trying to get to 16. Over here, our final answer needs to be 81. And normally the numbers have to be pretty small. Unless they're giving you numbers here that are in the thousands or something like that.
I figured it out.
What'd you get?
3.
3, yeah. Like I said, the answers typically be pretty small, because if you keep multiplying a number over and over again, it gets really big really fast. That's one of the concepts behind exponents, is the growth happens really, really fast with exponents. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 would be 81. So the answer to this is just the number 3. Because that's the number that if you multiply it times itself 4 times, it gives you 81.
Makes sense.
We're going to do some more of them. Actually, you'll do more of them. There's, in all honesty, there's not a whole lot of solving on most of the tests. Typically, that's what you did more in 8th grade. Normally here, what they're going to do is they're going to give you a problem like this, and they're going to say, select all of the answers that are an equivalent version of this. And we'll do more of that next class. We're not going to do a lot of that today. There's only one little thing we're doing today, which I want to make sure. What time did I say? So 40 minutes. So about 10. So we got less than 30 minutes for our lesson. Actually, I think we're ahead of time. So you guys might have even more time. We won't do that.
That doesn't make no sense. Like, how did you get 3?
Because again, let's go over it. Because I see we're struggling. This symbol means we're using math. I mean multiplication. That's what that symbol means. You got to be thinking multiplication first of all. The number under the radical is like the final answer we're trying to get to. But we're trying to figure out what number times itself. It's the opposite. Here we know the number and we're multiplying it times itself. Here we don't know the number. We're trying to figure out what it is. And we need to multiply it times itself 4 times to get to 81. So like I did with the 2's. So if I would have said, is anybody copying anything? Let me get rid of all of it.
Oh, I'm done.
Don't cost people their phones, please. Not yet. You have plenty of phone time. So get rid of it, because I will shut it down for one person if I keep looking up and you're on it, because that's like the 3rd or 4th time I've seen it. So if I give you this problem, We'll use simple numbers. I give you that. What does that mean?
So
Don't give me an answer. I don't want an answer yet. What does it mean? What are we looking for?
So you have to figure out what number times itself 3 times equals 8.
Perfect. So, anything to add? That means I need a this is the final answer I'm trying to get to. And I'm using multiplication to get there. But it's got to be the same number that I'm multiplying every
I
time.
have the answer.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. So what number times itself 3 times? The 3 comes from here. That's why I have 3 question marks. Correct.
How? Correct. 4, 8, 12, bitch. Say it. 2, correct. Think about it. Wouldn't it be 4? Are you? Then 8, because it would just be 4 plus 4 plus 4. So
But what are you
not 2
forgetting?
plus 2 plus 2.
How did you
Two,
get
four,
to
six.
4? How did you get to 4?
2, 4, 6. Not that.
No, that's adding them. We're multiplying.
I hate math. It's the way
Literally, here's your process. If you're struggling with this, this is your process every time you do a problem like this. When I give you something, if you have to solve it, which I don't even think we really have to solve it very often, you start at 1. Okay, 1 times 1 times 1. Well, that's never going to be anything but 1, right? Because it's 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. All right, well then let's go to 2. 2 times 2 times 2, and then however many times you have to do it, that's what this is telling you. 2 times 2 times 2 would be what? You just say it. Brooklyn already said it earlier. No, 3 times we said. 3 times. 2 times 2 times 2. That is telling you have to do it 3 times. What is that? No. What is 2 times 2?
That's 4.
So what is 4 times 2?
Oh, what the?
Eight.
Oh, that's where it's hard. I was thinking 4, 4, and 4.
You are
Okay, so-
multiplying 1 times the next one, then whatever you get, you have to multiply it times the next number.
Mr. Gill?
No, you did not say that.
I literally said exactly that. Bricklin got the answer earlier. He said 2. Bricklin got it. Bricklin got it.
Yes. Give him another one. I bet you can't get it.
All right, that one right there.
You already gave us the answer, didn't we?
He probably
Yeah, I
didn't
gave
know
the
that.
answer, not him. I did.
What's the answer to this one then? Told you didn't. Told you weren't paying attention.
Literally just did
We
it.
just did that one. I told you. But I'll bet he figures it out though. Start it. Does 2 work?
It's 3.
2 will never work because it's not an even number.
Really?
You can never get an odd number if you use 2. So you start at 3. What's 3? And how many times are you multiplying
Let
it?
Ryan do it.
How many times are you
Let him do
multiplying it?
You do it.
Do another problem. Do another problem.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you one in a minute. How many times are you multiplying it to get this? 4 on that one because there's a 4 there for the root,
There you
right?
go.
So 2 doesn't work because 2 will never give you an odd number if you keep multiplying by 2. So we can skip over 2. So 3 times 3 is what? 9 times 3 is what?
27.
27 times 3 is what?
81.
Now I see.
Well, we
Fuck
know
that. I
who
bet
does
you I get a
the
higher grade than all I know on this one.
Well, we just did that.
No, you don't.
Literally
First
just.
time, really.
Retarded.
And again, there's not actually a lot of solving. Very rarely are they going to give you this and say, what does that equal? That's just not going to be the type of problem you're going to get. That's not what the standard is that we're learning. So, yeah, we're spending too much time on that really, but I do want you to know what that means because that might be on like a PSAT or something like that. But it's not going to be on your EOC really next year.
Mr. Gill,
Yes.
for people who don't really understand it, wouldn't it just help to write it down, get the answer to write down, like?
Yeah, you would think. All right, so we already did that page. So now we're doing it kind of over again. So what are these? You don't have to give me an answer. What does it mean?
Just one.
Wait, so there's gonna be fractions.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
We get to the next one.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
A whole bunch of fractions. No, write it down. I want you guys are writing all these down.
You love it.
Write these down. These are your examples that you will have for the exit ticket on Thursday.
Dude, really fractions.
Oh yeah, Nadia. Big fractions. Lots of fractions.
Same thing, like 4 times.
So what does it mean?
I know it.
Write it down.
don't care.
Okay, we need
The
to-
first few should be pretty easy, but they'll get a little bit harder. Not a lot. We just said what an exponent means, what a base means. That's the first thing we did before we got to the radical. That was totally radical.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, what's the first one mean? We'll do that one real quick. I'm gonna call on somebody. This one. I'm gonna call on Tejan. We just did it, dude. What's 3 raised or 11 raised to the third power mean, or 11 cubed?
Three.
We just did it.
I did.
What number?
We did it. That includes you. You are part of we.
Ten.
Give me something. Does it mean 11 times 3? Let me ask you that.
No.
Definitely doesn't mean that. As long as you know that, there's only really one other. It still means multiplication. So what's the only other thing you can do? If it's not 11 times 3, what could you do? It's multiplication, but it's not 11 times 3.
Gosh,
Take a guess. Come on. Not getting off that easy.
Say it again.
Take a guess. Not an. I don't want an answer. Like I don't want a final number. Like just what would you be doing to get your final answer if that was the.
Not the answer, what you choose.
The number, the 11 by the number.
So we do what with 11? We don't multiply 11 times 3. I said it's not that. By itself, how many times?
What are you talking?
That's the answer. That's what it
Times
means.
the exponent.
Not times the exponent.
No, 11
The number of
times
times.
itself by the
Yes, the
exponent.
number of times that you have to
My
do.
phone's down.
So that's what this means. That's it. That's the whole concept for exponents. I don't care what is inside parentheses, so I could put all kinds of stuff in the parentheses. You just be raising everything in the parentheses times itself that many times. So what's the second one mean then?
A quarter, a quarter, a quarter, a quarter.
3/4 take.
Quarters.
3/4, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4.
There we go. So we take everything in parentheses,
3/4.
always times itself.
How could you do?
And in this case, we have a 5 for the exponent, so we're doing it 5 times. That's what it means. So now do these
Giving
3.
you an answer? No. Are you like a final answer? What it should be? Yes, 3.
Do these 3. Oh,
Come on, Jeremy Williams.
did I zoom all the way in already?
Wouldn't that just be
Come on, Jay Willis.
So we already did the 3/4, so do those 3. You don't have to write all of these out if you
Hold on, what is,
understand what it means.
why is it 2 final?
I know. What does it mean? What did I just say? Same concept I just did. That's why that one's up there.
Oh my god.
What's in parentheses, and then how many times are you multiplying it by itself?
Oh, I think I might know.
So if you don't know it, you need to make sure you write the ones down that you don't know. If you know all of them, I don't really care if you ever. This is for you to use on the exit ticket, these examples. So, 'cause you're going to see some of them again. I mean, not the same numbers, but the same concept. I'm going to give you a couple more after these. What's this one? We'll start with the 1 to the 13th power. What's that mean? Damani, what's that mean?
What's that mean? I mean,
Not 1 times 13.
Oh my.
Say it correctly. It's 1 times itself. It's always the base times itself. Always, always, always. The base times itself. The base times itself. But then we're doing that 13 times. So 1 times 1 times 1, which 1 rate, the point of that is 1 raised to almost any power is 1. There's one exception.
That's it. The 1 times that.
And I'll give you the exception in a minute.
Oh,
So 1 raised to the 13th power is just 1. Because you're going to keep multiplying 1 times itself, and that's just going to always be 1. What does this one mean? How would we rewrite that?
I think I kind of figured it out. I was just an idea, but you do 2 times 2 times 2 times 2.
Well, let's take baby steps first. What does this mean right here? This 2.
Times 2.
Not times 2. Doesn't mean times 2.
No, times the base.
It means the base. So in this case, the base is all of this. That's the base being raised to that power. So you take whatever's in parentheses, which is that, and then you say times itself. In this case, it's just times itself 2 times, because we have a 2 right there. That's all it means.
The 10.
Well, it's not 10, it'd be a much bigger, because this would be, if you multiply this out, and I'm gonna give you this in a second. Here's what's gonna happen on the EOC. Guarantee you this is gonna be one of the questions. I can't imagine it's not. They're gonna give you some kind of term like this, and they're gonna say, select all of the answers that are equivalent versions of this. And that would be one of them. We take whatever in there and rate and multiply it times itself twice. But that won't be the only version. Because what does this mean? Just 2 to the 5th. Not 2 times 5, 2 times itself 5 times, right? So we could break this down into this, because that's what this means, 2 times itself 5 times. Well, then we're taking all of that and multiplying it times this, which is, again, 2 times itself 5 times. So this is what you're going to have to do. They're not going to ask you what the final answer is. They're not going to ask you to multiply stuff out. They're going to say select all of the equivalent versions and give you a whole bunch of stuff that has 2's in it with different exponents. That's an equivalent version, and that's an equivalent version, and that's it. And then they'll give you other stuff like they'll give you 2 to the 7th power to try to get you to add those 2 together or something like that. Or they eventually will get to this rule. Another correct answer is also this. 2 to the 10th power is actually correct. You multiply those 2 together and it would be 2 to the 10th power. Because that would mean 2 10 times, right? 2 to the 10th power would be 2 10 times. So that would be another correct answer. So there, you're not going to be doing a whole lot of math and multiplying stuff up. You're going to be applying different rules to come out with what are the different versions that would still be correct. What's this last one mean?
If it's X and you don't know what it is, then it's just kind of like X times X.
Yeah, just whatever the base is times itself 3 times. It's always the same. I'm going to give you a couple other ones to add into the, oh wait, I have, yeah, not yet. So, what about this? What's that mean?
X plus 3 times itself 4 times.
Yeah, it means the same thing. Don't freak out if there's fractions in there. Don't freak out if there's variables. Don't freak out if there's multiple terms. It means whatever is the base, which in this case, this whole thing in parentheses is all the base. You take that, I'll rewrite it over here, and you write that times itself. And we would need parentheses to show multiplication here because we have multiple terms in there. And you do it 4 times. That's what it means. And they're not typically going to ask you to multiply all that out, I don't think. There is math that you have to do next year where you do multiply those out, but it's a different lesson. That's the second half of algebra. But that's the answer. 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 3 times 2x plus 3. Again, fractions, variables, none of it matters. Whatever's considered the base, the big number, which in this case is all of that, times itself 4 times. Here's one for you. What's this? You'll get to that next year. That's not this class.
So we don't have to.
No, not for me. No, we don't get to it. What's that?
10.
Hey,
Hey?
heavy.
Then what's that?
Heavy. That's
10 times 10.
heavy.
9 times 10.
That's 10 times 10? Only got a 1
Oh,
there.
just one.
What?
Then what's this?
How do you know that?
Now it's 10 times 10.
That's 10 times 10. So this can't be 10 times 10. So what's this?
So that's just 10 times the first 2. 20.
So what's that then?
0.
10, so it's just nothing. You just do
That's the common guess of 0. It's the wrong guess, but it's the common guess.
just 10.
Hmm? No, this is 110 here.
Oh,
That's 110, so this
no, no,
can't
no.
also be 110.
Maybe like
Not 0.
maybe like
10 times 0.
10.
It'd still be 0. Not 0. That one's a little trickier.
So angry. Mad.
1.
Holly.
That is 1. This is 1. This is 1. Anything, so here's another note you better write down. You're guaranteed to see this one again. Anything raised to the 0 power is 1. A power of 0 means it is equal to 1.
Wait.
So I did this when I was in 8th grade. This is my 8th grade trick, actually. One. So I did something like this.
They called you Mr. Clean.
Well, actually every year somebody calls me.
Mr. Clean.
I don't know why that's fun. It's like, it's not the first time it's come up.
Yeah, come on now.
I mean,
Wasn't that funny,
for
Look, that.
Anything times the first exponent.
So I did this right here, and I said that was on their quiz. Yeah, that was the quick answer. It doesn't matter what's in here. I don't care what number you eventually get. I don't care how you simplify it, if you do whatever. When you then raise it to 0 power, it's going to be 1. A lot of them spend a long time trying to figure out what they get in here before they then notice that, oh, then I got to raise that to the 0 power. So just saying, you might want to be aware of that. Anything raised to the 0 power. It could have been all variables in here, and you would still know it's 1. Because if it eventually gets raised to the 0 power, it's 1. Any questions on any of those? This is called the product rule here. We're going to get to the product rule next class. If you understand that rule, you will be in good shape for the EOC even. Like, I'm not just talking about this class. Because there are a lot of other rules we're gonna learn that you probably won't remember for the EOC. But if you just know that one rule, if you truly remember that one, it'll get you through all of the other ones. Almost everything can be, it might take you a little bit longer, but it'll get you through the exponents part of that test, most of it at least. What does this mean? Go ahead and write it down. Write it down first.
Dude.
Everybody write it down. So now we have a radical, so we're no longer taking something and multiplying it times itself 3 times or 13 times or whatever. It's a little bit different. We went through it before. So write down what you think it means, and then we'll go back over it. It's sort of the opposite. We said this is actually kind of the final answer we're trying to get to underneath the radical symbol. You should have a couple of examples where we just did it. Who am I going to call on for this one? I think I know. It's one of 2 people. You're safe, I already called it. Unless you want. Daniel, might be you. Or you know what? Are you volunteering? What's that? Oh, this.
Are you?
Oh, got it.
I was going to say, of all people to be mouthing off, right? The one that has literally never pulled out a piece of paper. You got notes all over it, right?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the other page right there. No way.
Mm-hmm.
See? Look.
Are you answering or any other question? You want to answer? I'll let you answer if you want to volunteer. If you want to save Daniel or Kira. That's going to be mine. Well, that would be the answer, but what's it mean? Let's talk about what it means first. How'd you get that?
I did 4 times instead of 2 times.
No, it's not 4 times itself. No, that happened. This is why I say sometimes you get lucky, because again, when you're dealing with really small numbers, every once in a while you just get lucky. Now I'm going to go to the other people. What's it mean, Daniel? Well, and that's the correct way to get the answer. But before we get there, can you, Kira, can you say what I'm?
Whatever number.
Some number. So it's a missing number first. You went ahead and solved for the number, which is fine. First, though, it means this. What number times itself 4 times equals 16? And then to solve it, you would get 2 because 2 times itself 4 times is 16. So the answer is 2. So that is an answer of 2, but this is what it means. Because I'm not really going to ask you to do a lot of solving. I'm going to say, what does this mean? Explain to me how you would solve for the answer. I'm not going to say, what is the answer? That's too easy. I want you to be able to explain, because I might give you really big numbers where you can't necessarily do it on your own, but you'd still be able to explain. Like I might give you 1 million something with a root of 7. Probably not going to want to do that by hand. But explaining it in words is the same as explaining this in words. It means what number times itself, however many times, or here, will equal, and then whatever's under the radical. Now we kind of already did this, but again, I'll redo it. I'll show you why this is the case next class. 2 to the 4th would be 2 times itself 4 times. 2 to the 3rd times 3. 2 to the 2nd. So again, that'll be 4, 8, 2. And then we get down to 1. Now there's a reason sort of why that's the case. And we'll go over that when we start learning the rules of exponents. But anything to the 0 power, you got to remember, anything is not 0, it is 1. All right, so copy this down. So this is the next part of the lesson. I'll go to that in a minute. This is what your exit ticket will be on Thursday. And this is what you're about to do in a minute. You have some practice. Actually, while you're copying that, I'll pass out the what you're working on today. Some of them did not staple correctly, so some of you are going to get 2 pages. We can staple them later.
You don't want us to
I don't want you to win.
Yes, look at this.
You can win what? This is an easy topic. Like, there's no math really involved. Yeah, you're just moving numbers around into the correct spot.
You say that every time.
Well, that's because a lot of it isn't math. It's just following a process. You'll see in a minute that we're not doing anything. We're not doing any. When I say no math, I mean no calculations.
Oh, that's
You're not
something different,
going to actually be multiplying anything out. You're just moving numbers around, putting them in different spots, which shouldn't be too difficult. Sometimes
Makes
it is.
no sense.
I'm explaining. Right now, I'm just copying.
Yeah, we have to put Mr. Mrs. Jones.
So I think it's
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
you have a stick there, like.
Yeah, we'll do that when you have time to be in class.
We write down the if question.
You write down all of that that's up there. Not what's in red. We'll get to what's in red. I'm giving you straight what's in the book, and then I'm going to give you my version of what's in the book. You can use whichever one makes sense to you. Sometimes they say Yeah, this is just like your normal worksheets. You'll do some examples on here, and you can use that on the exit ticket on Thursday. How you doing? Did you get one, Alex? You got one? Huh, I just missed.
Oh, is this the paper?
Is it the paper that what?
That you're gonna have us work on?
Yeah, that's what you're doing today in about 5 minutes. All right, so all you're doing on this particular activity, or lesson, whatever you call it, you're just moving numbers around. They have asked you to take some number in this format, so I'll give you one up here. And they've asked you to change that into another format. They've asked you to rewrite that with a radical, an exponent that is a rational number. All that means is you're going to write it like this. So they gave you something like this, right? That matches up with that format. It has a radical symbol. There's no parentheses, so it's not this format. It's this middle format. you're going to then take that and say, okay, well, if I want to write it in this format, what do I need to do? And it just says, okay, well, you take the base, so this is still the base, and you make it the base. It's still the base. You take the exponent, and you make the exponent the numerator, the top part of the fraction, and you take the root, and you make it the bottom part of the fraction. That's all you're doing. So if I were going to rewrite this, I would say, okay, well, my base number is still going to be my base number, my big number. My exponent is going to be the top number in my fraction, my exponent. That's going to be in a fraction form. And the root is going to be the bottom number of my fraction. That's it. That's the lesson. You're just taking, so the way I would do this to keep it clear, write down what m and n equals, or I'll go ahead and just have you write this down now. Write this. So write it really big, this one, really big. So it is big number, which is the base, top number, which is in the exponent position, and then bottom number, which is the root. Copy that down, and then it avoids being confused by, because what they do is they give you a problem where they switch the M and the A and all that stuff around and put them in different positions, and that was really confusing with people last class. So I didn't come up with this till the very end of class. And you're going to do one using that in a second. If you understand that, well, this is just still taking the M and putting it on top and putting it over there, no matter what the letter is there, then that's fine. You can still use that. When you're done writing, I'm going to give you one to do, and you can do this one. You should be fine on the activity.
Well, I get it. The 125 part and the 5 and the 3, that helps.
And then sometimes you're going to have to go from this here and put it in one of these formats, which they don't give you any problems like that on the worksheet. At least I didn't see any. So I will give you that on the quiz, though. But as long as you write this, you're fine. Because, again, this would be the top number, bottom number, and the big number. Big number is the base.
What do they mean when they say write each radical as a rational exponent?
It means write it like this.
Oh.
That's a rational exponent. A fraction is a rational. Anything that they get rid of. Okay, so here's what I want you to try to do. If you can do this one, you're fine. I want you to take this right here and rewrite it in that format. So a base number with a fraction as the exponent. So you're taking what's in blue right here, this one right here, and you're rewriting it like this, or like this first one here. Base, top number, bottom number. You know, don't get confused by the letters. You need to think base or big number, top number, bottom number. Because if you'll notice, I'm using the same exact letters as they're using, but they're all in different positions. So you can't get confused by the A and the M and the N.
But it's already written. Oh my
No, it's
God.
not. I haven't answered that. That is not the answer. That's not the answer. I put them in different positions. Is the A here? Is the M here? Is the N there? Then that's not the answer. I put them in different positions. So you got to figure out where they go now. That's why I say use this. Big number, top number, bottom number. And rewrite it. What's that? Nope, you're using these. You're using A, M, and N. That's why I said if you can get this one, that's about as confusing as I can make a problem right there. So if you can get that one, you're fine. And they do have one that's a little confusing on the problems you're going to do. That's why I'm giving you this one. You got to think big number, that'll be the top number, that'll be the bottom number.
Oh, so we're doing that one.
Nope, you're doing this.
Oh my God.
You are taking this right here. I'll say it again. You are taking this and putting it in that format. That's not the answer. They'll be in different places because these are not in the same places as those. So what's the big number? Which one is going to be the top number out of all of this? Nope, A is not the big number. Is that an A? That's the big number. M is the big number. That's why I say Don't think about it as A, M, and N. You got to think about it as where the positions are. What is the big number? Well, that it will always be the big number. What is the top number? Well, then that in this position is the top number. Then that needs to go on top when you create the fraction. What is the number here? Well, that becomes the bottom number when you create the fraction. This is what you use. Don't, if you're confused, if you get it, then you can use.
I got it.
I'll give you guys a second to try to do it on your own. And then I'll give you maybe another one. I mean, you can actually, I'll just let you start working. Because there's one in there that will be confusing to you if this one's confusing. So again, I'm going to rewrite it as this form here, which means I'm going to write the big number, and then the exponent is going to be top number, because it's going to be on top, and then bottom number on bottom. So what is my, again, we're doing this problem. What's the big number in that problem? In that position? M is right. No, not A. That problem, the big number, that's not the big number. It's the position it's in. A is not always going to be the big number. You got to think the position of the big number. The big number is always that spot. That's always the top number. That's always the bottom number. So the big number is M for that. It's where is it at in the problem. Don't think of what letter it is, because they changed the letters around in one of the examples. That's why we're doing this one. Okay, now what is the top number going to be? Where does that come from? Comes from this position, right? What's in that position? Well, N's in that position, so that's the top number. What then is the bottom number? Where does that come from? Comes from right here, right? What's in that position? Oh, well, A is in that position. So don't think about it as what is the letter. Think about it as what position is it in? Where am I pulling from when you do these examples? And there's really only one that's kind of confusing. A couple other things. What if we have this? And you got to rewrite that into like this format here, where you have a number here and then a fraction. What do I do there? Because I'm missing some stuff. What's the problem? What am I missing? I've got, what do I have? Let's start with that. So if I'm thinking of these terms, I got the big number, right? So I know I'm going to start by putting, I'll switch to black. I know I'm going to start by putting 25 down as the big number, but what am I missing?
Top and bottom.
I don't have my two top and bottom spots, right? Or do I? Do I, Damani? What do we say about missing exponents, correct? And what did we say earlier about, or did we say about what's missing here, what it should be? I might not have said that.
No, you didn't.
All right, so then we'll just say it now. If there is not a number here, 2, because that's a square root symbol if there's not a number there. We want to know what number times itself twice, which in this case, the square root of 25 is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So if there's no number here, then it's a 1. Then that's always the case for exponents. If there's no number here where the root is, it's a 2. They'll show any other number, 3, 4, 5, and above. So if you're missing one, and it doesn't matter if this is a variable down here or not. If this is a variable, you'd still have a 1 there if it was missing. Now, if there's something here, then that's what you use, even if it's a letter. Sometimes I think they put some variables there or here. If there is something in that position, that's what you use. So here we have an N, so we used N. We have an A, we used A. Top number, bottom number, and then that's always the big number, the base. All right, so go ahead. So here's what you're doing. I think I still have this up from the last class. Yeah, you're doing on the first page 1 through 4. On the second page 25 through 30, and it's everything we just did. Most of them are really, really easy. Some of them are a little tougher. They kind of move the A or the M or the N around and try to confuse you. Just think of it as big number, top number, bottom number, and what position are you pulling from? Not what is the letter, but what position are you pulling from to make the new version, the new term or whatever. New format. Format's probably a better word. I'll walk around again once I've said you're done, and I'll let you grab phones out, but don't do phone. I mean, it shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes for sure. Most of them are super fast, especially once you've done a couple of them. In both pages. Only 4 of them on the first page, and then 6 of them, I think, on the second page. But it's the same thing over and over again.
I used the bathroom.
The name of the page is 6-1 additional
It
practice.
says right there.
But look at the top of your page.
So you go.
It says 6-1 additional practice. That's the page. Not the numbers you're doing.
I used the bathroom.
Yeah, if you want to trade your phone out for it, then if you can be next, that's fine. So again, this is the page number. Page problems. Page problems. There, that makes it more clear. Oh, and when you write it, by the way, do not write your final answer like this, where the fraction is really big next to the number. That's 10.5. That is not 10 raised to the 1/2 power. That's 10 raised to the 1/2 power. You have to write the fraction very small and raise up above the base, or else it is wrong, technically. They mean 2 totally different things. I don't know that I'll take off on that this first day to ticket, but at some point I will. We need to know how to write it. Especially you're doing what I just said. You're taking something that looks like this in every single problem and writing it like that. And you're not writing it like that, because that's 10.5. Correct, because that would be the exponent underneath the radical symbol. Yeah, like this. There wasn't, I think when I did this originally, there wasn't a 1 there. So it was a 1, there wasn't a 2 there, so it's a 2. So again, as soon as you're done, just bring me up, call me over, I'll look at it real quick, and as long as you got them all, they look good, then you can jump on phones. If you have questions before that, obviously I'll help you too. Mad at you, like you. Oh, wow, you're killing me. All right, so did you take notes or anything? Hello. Oh, yeah. But you didn't put notes on where to put stuff? You're killing me. I can't go back to that. All right, so what would be the exponent of that 16?
16.
But what's the exponent? There's still an exponent of number 16. We are missing our number then, right? Because we got to have a number here, a big number, and then a little number there. So what would we have to make the exponent of 16? Oh, next guess. 1. So 6, that is 16 to the first power. So write a 1. So now you go to create a this is what's called creating a rational exponent, because this is an exponent and it's a rational number. Fraction's a rational number. How did I get from that? You see my 2, my 10, and my 1. How did I get from that down to the 10 to the 1/2? So where the numbers come from and where they go. So if you just write it next to that one, and I'll show you. Not right on the first one, not right on the third one. There's got to be numbers there. So what would be there? Like originally that 2 and that 1.
You get that
So
photo.
that's how you would well, you wouldn't write it there. That would just be a 16 first. You then write separately from that, just like I wrote separately from that, the 10. So you go from this to that. You can't try to just change this up here, because then you've changed what's problem. Yes, and yes. And I will. That's good. That's the trick. Is going to A here instead of there. Yeah, not 1 on that. That's not a 1 there. This is a 1 on 7. So we're missing that number. It's not a 1. I'm wrong with that 2. Yeah, the 7 always has an exponent of 1. This is always, if there's nothing there, what is there? Nope. So you guys you missed a big chunk of the lesson that was quick but important. If I start out, I literally use this same exact problem. If I start out with that, and I'm missing my top and my bottom number, what did we say goes in those positions?
The top number is 1.
So we're going to call them the root and the exponent. What is the exponent on the 25?
The 1.
A 1. We said that. There's always an exponent of 1 if we don't see an exponent. We've said that before. What is the root if we don't see a root? That's a 2. A lot of you missed several of the first 2 problems. Because you didn't get that one. You did it a minute ago. I'll come back over to you. 2/3. Well, no, you're doing the same exact thing.
Oh,
Yeah, you're just taking those and rewriting them just like you wrote all those.
Oh.
Same thing. Do those real quick.
You get that phone. Yep. See, I see your
So
eye.
use those notes to try in the right notes.
You got the same one.
Not on what we just did. So you don't have to multiply it out, and it would be what number times itself, not 7 times 7 times 7. 7 raised to the 4th power. So what you wrote would be this. That's 7 to the 4th power is what you wrote. 7 times 7 times 7 times 7. It's not asking you to do that. It's asking you to find a number times itself 4 times that would equal 7. 7 would be the answer part. But you don't have to do that. You just have to rearrange where the numbers are and stuff. So all you should be doing, it's not that. Again, this is not that for sure. That would be 3 raised to the 3rd power. And that would be 7 raised to the 3rd power. This is not 7 raised to the 3rd power. And all you're doing, your final answer is going to be, yeah. So that you got to do them all. This is what your final answer is going to look like. Some base number, your big number, which just comes from the big number under there, and then you're raising that to some fraction. And to get the fraction, you just pull the number here and the number there. Put them in the right spots. Top number, bottom number. All right, that was good. So that one's correct. Now, again, this is correct. You need to do them all just like that. Yeah. Right, we'll do the other ones that you can do. Well, right now you got a lot of other ones you should be able to do. If you did that number 2, which you did. Well, but again, do the same thing you did on number 2. Your number 2 is perfect. Look at what you did on number 2. You're pulling the stuff from the same positions when you rewrite it. Number 1, 3, and 4.
so how do you?
Well, no. What's on the 3? This is the bottom number. So write number 1 in on the 3 under the radical.
It should be like A
So
right here. And like 3 at the top and 2 at the bottom.
So now where do you
Thank you.
Put that 1 and that 2.
of hour? There. Right? Well, no, this top number needs to be under the. You remember, well, but when you go back to look at this in 2 days, you're not going to remember that. You can be like, what? No, but you need to make sure it's clear for you on Thursday. I'm telling you, the way you got it written, I guarantee you haven't seen it in 2 days.
What? 30. Yeah, B, and then A at the top, and then 2 at the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, all of
What?
it. It needs to be in the format of that 10 to the 1/2. The bottom blue one.
Get on, you 99 dang.
Well, just
Yeah,
do this right
okay.
now.
No, you're not.
We're just doing that. Like, it's,
All of those look good.
Trying to get a picture of Sleepy
You guys
John.
can get one.
He's dreaming about boys. Wake up!
So that looks good.
It's not 7 to the 4th. Because you've got a top number that's missing.
Cool.
It's there.
Like total.
It's on that 7.
Everybody really, really, really.
There you go. Yeah, if there's a missing number, you gotta have numbers there.
He's here. Who's here? Izzy. Izzy.
That looks good. That looks good. That looks
Now you
good.
That looks good. So what are we missing on these?
Where is he?
You got a big number, top number, bottom number. What are we missing? You're really never gonna be missing a big number. What's missing on this? You just tell me what's missing. Yeah, we don't see either of those. So what did we say it is? I actually just wrote them in on green. That originally that was just a 25. So what did I write in? Because I was missing both, right? No, you're not missing both on this one over here, but you are here, so what are you missing? There you go, so now what's that making? Perfect, so what are you missing over here? Well, this is one over there. So there you go. I'll look at it, yeah, those are good.
Okay, so you really
So,
like that.
A to the 2/3, so yeah, use those two you just did as your
Listen,
model.
but I have.
Those look good.
Like that.
Yep, those look good.
What if the big number? What if we have like right here, number 30?
Third.
What if we have a bevel? Is that
Gave
still
us fine.
same answer?
What you pull from the position, whatever position it's in. So this position here is becoming your top number. Doesn't matter what's there, that's the position of your top number. That's the position of your bottom number for your fraction. That's always, the big number is always the big number. Doesn't matter what's there, whether it's a variable, a number, doesn't matter. Big number is always in the big number spot. So that looks good. That's the hardest one. So you got that one. So you're good. You can do phone if you want. So again, you're pulling from a spot. So you pulled the 3 correctly, that's your bottom number spot, but that's not what's in that top spot.
Oh,
Yes, exactly. And then, and then you did that one right. You pulled the this one out. And all the other ones. Well here, when you're missing both numbers, what goes in, it's not both ones. 1 is there on the 7, that's a 1, and on the 3, there's a 1 for your top number. But what goes in that spot when you're missing the root, what we call the root? No, it's in green. That was originally not there. All I had was 25 in green. So what I put 2. If you're missing this spot, so this is kind of for everybody. If you're missing this spot, that's a 2. If it's blank, then write a 2 in. If this is blank, there's no top number, then write a 1 in. So a lot of people are.
Sound like good?
Yeah, you can go on the phone. That was the only thing you needed, correct? What were you missing here? Do you have a top number? What were you missing? Two. So you need to, you're missing some stuff that you got to fill in first, and you can finish that one, and you fill the other one. So you just fix that one. I agree, and review. Let's keep it good. Good. All right, so you do phone. You should be able to do phone now.
I've been done.
Correct.
Pretty sure. Incorrect.
Do you phone? Oh, this is not you. So this is the one you actually have to correct. Here, correct that one real quick too, so we have the correct example for that. I'm gonna take it.
Let me get off.
She's not doing it this time.
Wake up, Andrew, the belt. How far, Andrew? Get up. Oh, JJ. JJ.
Yes, we will use this again, so keep these, don't lose them.
Yes.
I say we use it again. I think we won't use probably this first page, we'll use the other. What is the answer you have written? Use the number twice. There you go. There you go, perfect. Oh, yeah, I'm last in. Yeah, you're good. You can jump on. Right, so again, you need to be putting these here in a format that looks like this, where you have a big number and then a fraction. And the fraction is gonna be, yeah, so the big number is coming from the big number underneath. The top number comes from this position, like basically it's the exponent. I got a headache. The bottom number comes from the root. We call this the root. So you're gonna rewrite all of these.
I am. She just scratched. She's kicking me off.
Yeah, you kind of, this is gotta be.
Right.
Oh, we didn't have to do this.
You off?
Yes.
You don't have to fake.
So I'm gonna give you an example.
Like, you don't like turn my VPN off.
This is
turn
the
it off.
problem.
Literally.
Yeah, she's all done. Most people are all done, I think.
Here for my
So
whole.
if I give you this, relatively. So I have that, so kind of similar to these, and this one you're missing something. What goes where this number is here? What goes there? This. We say if there's no number there, there's no top number, that's in the top number position. If there's a missing top number, what do you write?
You are currently offline here. Is that working?
Well,
So
bad.
Oh, disconnected.
Get up, buddy.
If there's no number here, so if you are, so I just want you to write it down. You are missing the top number, so this line right here. You are actually creating a line here.
Wait, what's it called, brother? Rubbing.
Here you're gonna write this, you are missing
Rubbing.
the
Wait,
top
yeah, but 10
number.
o'clock.
It is one.
Oh. What? Rubbing.
Put all that in. Okay, now on the bottom one, so you're gonna write small, as dot something. If you are missing the bottom number, it's 2. So now, when you rewrite these, you always just take the big number, and again, sometimes the big number is actually a variable. It's whatever is in the spot where that big number is. So here, it's just a number, 7, 10. Here, the big number is actually 8. Here, the big number is actually 8. So it's whatever's in that spot. That then becomes. So we take that big number and we write that. Here's our big number. Now we got to write a top and a bottom. So we're going to write. So we write the big number and then we make a fraction of the top and the bottom. So what did we just say? We're missing. So we just say the top. So we would write 1. With the bottom of that. And if you're missing the bottom number, we're going to 2. Missing the bottom number there. So again, your big number goes in this spot. So you're pulling the big number and writing it there. Pulling the top number right there. Now try to do those on the next circle.
You never have to worry about replacing the
I'm not going to say never because I could create one like that, but typically they wouldn't do that.
But if you do not have a bottom number, you just put the fraction.
If you don't have a bottom number, you said? I don't think you'll ever not have. I mean, you gotta have a bottom number. Like, they can't write an exponent without a bottom number. Real? I mean, They could I have seen it on quizzes, like on a computer generated quiz where they do this.
Yeah.
They say 3, and then they have an exponent there, and there's like a box there, like an empty box.
So you don't put like 0?
So, well, they would have multiple choice, and you would have to fill in the multiple choice with what number it should be or something. So I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but I don't believe it's anything you're gonna have to worry about. They'd have to really be trying to trick you off.
Took it out for the first week.
Anybody else that need me to look at stuff?
We're looking
Yeah,
at
we
about
just
100
can't
people
wait.
combined.
We're not getting food.
Just 'cause you're shit.
That goes on this. You're talking for this quarter? Oh yeah, I probably won't get that for the weekend. It's first week, so. Oh, we will be doing the big quiz really early because, like I said, May is pretty much all testing. So we'll be doing the big quiz, and not next week, but probably the 3rd week, so that you have plenty of time after that to go ahead and get your grade back up if you need to. What is that? Why did that not work? I do on my desk, I believe. Why is that not working?
Everything's messed up today.
You know, you got new
Well-
headphones? Which I know that you just got mics on, and I see it.
What in the world?
There's your brummies.
Oh, there we
The
go.
other one.
Yeah, weird.
Let me beat me up for it. Bro, stop breaking stuff. How do you break?
Everyone to trade with me.
What in the world? Hold on, let me get this fixed and then I'll come back around. I don't know what was going on with all of our computer stuff.